we're going to start with the bad cults and work our way to the scariest and most tragic ones of all time. Number 5. Aum Shinrikyo. Unlike many destructive cults that relied on isolation or psychological control, Aum Shinrikyo became something far more dangerous. Founded in 1984 by Shoko Asahara in Japan, the organization blended elements of Buddhism, Hinduism, and Christianity. But of course, every cult needs to have some sort of apocalyptic prophecy and a belief system centered around the idea that the end of the world is rapidly approaching. As well as this, Asahara claimed that he possesses supernatural powers and convinced followers that only complete obedience to him would guarantee their survival after the coming catastrophe. What made Aum Shinrikyo especially alarming was the type of people that it attracted. The group recruited scientists, engineers, doctors, and other highly educated professionals while accumulating enormous amounts of wealth. Behind the scenes, it secretly developed chemical and biological weapons, believing violence was justified to accelerate or survive the apocalypse it predicted. Then, on March 20th, 1995, the group carried out one of the most infamous terrorist attacks in Japanese history. Members released sarin nerve gas on several Tokyo subway trains during the morning rush hours, killing 14 people and injuring thousands more. The attack shocked the world and triggered one of Japan's largest criminal investigations. Authorities quickly dismantled much of the organization, arresting Asahara and many senior leaders. After years of legal proceedings, Asahara and several associates were executed. Although the original organization has collapsed, a successor group continues to exist under a different name and remains under close government surveillance. Number 4. Heaven's Gate. Founded during the 1970s by Marshall Applewhite and Bonnie Nettles, the movement taught that Earth was approaching a dramatic transformation. According to its leaders, the planet would soon be recycled, and the only way to escape was by leaving behind one's human existence and joining a, quote, higher level of life, whatever that even means. Somehow, they actually recruited many followers. These followers gave up their homes, careers, personal possessions, and relationships with family members to devote themselves completely to the group. This was all done believing that abandoning worldly attachments would prepare them for the next stage of existence. One of the weirdest things that some of the male members did was undergo voluntary castration, I guess to show their commitment. After 12 long years, the cult grew tired. Then, in 1997, as the Hale-Bopp comet passed by Earth, Applewhite convinced followers that a spacecraft was traveling behind it, and that this represented their opportunity to ascend to the next level. Over several days, 39 members died by suicide in a carefully coordinated event at the house in California. Number 3. Branch Davidians. The story of the Branch Davidians is often remembered because of the dramatic siege near Waco, Texas, but the group's history stretches back much further. Originating in the 1950s as an offshoot of another religious movement, the organization remained relatively small until David Koresh took control in 1987. Koresh would somehow convince followers that he alone could correctly interpret biblical prophecies and that he had a unique role to play in events leading to the end of times. Under Koresh's leadership, members lived together at a compound called Mount Carmel. Former followers later described Koresh as being difficult to argue with, and that his authority expanded far beyond ordinary religious leadership. Everything would change in February 1993, when U.S. federal agents attempted to execute search and arrest warrants in the compound. A gunfight would break out, resulting in deaths on both sides and triggering a tense 51-day standoff that would be broadcasted around the world. As negotiations continued, concerns grew over the safety of those inside, including many children. The siege ended on April 19th when a fire engulfed the compound during a final FBI operation. In the end, 76 people, including Koresh, died, and of those who survived, they were all placed in jail. Number 2. Order of the Solar Temple. At first glance, the Order of the Solar Temple appears to be another spiritual organization focused on personal growth and mystical teachings. Founded in 1984 by Joseph D. Mombro and Luc Jouret, the group combined New Age spirituality and legends surrounding the medieval Knights Templar. Members were told that they belonged to a select group preparing for a higher spiritual destiny that ordinary people could never understand. However, as time went on, the leaders' teachings became more increasingly extreme. They would claim that physical death was not an ending, but a necessary transition to a higher plane of existence connected to the star Sirius. Followers were encouraged to believe that they had been chosen for a sacred mission, while the leaders maintained strict influence over the members' beliefs and decisions. Behind the scenes, investigators would later uncover financial manipulation, deception, and growing signs that the movement had become deeply dangerous. Between 1994 and 1997, authorities in Switzerland, France, and Canada discovered a series of coordinated mass deaths connected to the group. Investigations concluded that most of the members had committed suicide, but for those who were too scared, they were suffocated using a plastic bag. In the end, there would be 74 deaths connected to this cult, 16 in France, 10 in Canada, and 48 in Switzerland. These deaths would essentially bring an end to the cult. Number 1. The People's Temple. When most people hear the name People's Temple, they immediately think of Jonestown. But what makes the story so disturbing is that it didn't begin as a movement that seemed dangerous at all. The organization was founded in 1955 by Jim Jones in Indiana, and in its early years, it actually gained praise for promoting racial integration, helping people in need, and preaching equality at a time when segregation was still widespread in the United States. To many followers, Jones appeared to be a compassionate pastor who genuinely wanted to make the world a better place. But over the years, that image slowly changed. Jones became increasingly controlling, demanding complete loyalty from his followers, and convincing them that the outside world was filled with corruption and enemies who wanted to destroy them. Anyone who questioned him was portrayed as a traitor, while members became more isolated from their friends and families. Eventually, Jones relocated hundreds of followers to a remote agricultural settlement in Guyana called Jonestown, promising it would be a socialist paradise free from oppression. Instead, life there became harsh and heavily controlled. Everything reached a tragic climax in November 1978, after U.S. Congressman Leo Ryan traveled to Jonestown to investigate allegations of abuse. As Ryan and several other defectors attempted to leave, armed members attacked them at a nearby airstrip, killing the congressman and several others. Soon afterwards, Jones ordered what he called a revolutionary suicide. A total of 918 people died, including hundreds of children, with many victims believed to have been coerced or even forced. Jones himself died the same day from a gunshot wound, bringing an end to one of history's most devastating cult tragedies.